welcome to Movie Talk. On today's show, first reactions to Gemini Man are in, then a possible Disney Plus Star Wars holiday special. Could it actually happen? After that, we are talking about the top 100 essential movies that any film fan should watch. We're going to dig into all that on today's show. On today's show, we are lucky to have Drew Taylor and Eric Eisenberg on the panel. We've got some great topics to discuss, and we're previewing them for you in the call sheet right now. The very first topic on our call sheet today are those first reactions to Ang Lee's Gemini Man. Some folks out there saw the movie, and we're going to read a couple tweets from them, like Eric Davis, who tweeted, "Just saw Ang Lee's Gemini Man, and it's legit. Old Will Smith versus young Will Smith equals a visually visceral experience that's absolutely wild to watch at times. Again, Ang Lee delivers bold, unique action that's on par with the best. See it in 3D for sure." Then we've got Max Avery writing, "Ang Lee's Gemini Man is a huge breakthrough for 120 frames per second presentation. Action sequences are breathtaking in the format. Will Smith's winning performance shows the level of scrutiny a real movie star can stand up to. If you don't see it in theaters, you're missing a true experience." And then, of course, our own Vinny Mancuso wrote, "In Gemini Man, the young Will Smith throws not one, but two motorcycles at the old Will Smith, and that, to me, is very good. Highly recommend." Moving on over to that Star Wars story, our good friend at ET, Ash Crossan, she got to catch up with Jon Favreau at the Saturn Awards recently and asked him a little something about a Star Wars holiday special. Here's what he told her. "That's my generation. I love the holiday special. I mean, certain sequences more than others, but I love the introduction of Boba Fett and that rifle that he had. That animated piece still holds up. It's pretty cool, and I still draw inspiration from that. I would love to, maybe someday on Disney Plus, we'll do a holiday special too." Next up, if you've noticed on the internet, there's been a whole lot of talk about The Princess Bride. This is where it comes from. A Variety profile on Norman Lear, and in that piece, the CEO of Sony Pictures said the following: "Very famous people whose names I won't use, but they want to redo The Princess Bride. So fans and individuals involved in the actual film, they weren't happy about it, like Carrie Ellis, for example. But according to USA Today, a person familiar with the situation but not authorized to speak publicly told the outlet that the studio has no plans for a remake. So if you're worried, take that comment to heart right there." All right, moving on. Oh, this is a big one. It can be really tough to narrow down the list of essential movies to watch when we get so many new films every single year, and also when we're reassessing some of the older ones. So with that idea in mind, the Collider.com staff collaborated on 100 movies they think that every film fan needs to see. Just to throw a couple titles out there for you right now, the list includes Apocalypse Now, Back to the Future, and Avengers. We're going to discuss many more later on today's show. Finally, for our call sheet, we're reviewing Ad Astra today for you. The movie stars Brad Pitt as Roy McBride. He's on a mission across the solar system to uncover the truth about his missing father and his doomed expedition that now, 30 years later, threatens the universe. We're going to share our thoughts on this movie in just a moment, but before we get there, check out Matt Goldberg's interview with Brad Pitt himself.
We recently heard that Tarantino might have like a 4-hour cut of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Have you seen the?
No, I haven't seen, but I'll be looking forward to that one.
Do you know if you plan to release that like on Netflix or like in? Like,
well, it's a
as an
very
extended
interesting
cut?
thing now that he I believe he's pioneered it. I don't know anyone else has done it, but he did it with Hateful Eight. It's always a case on each film. You know, scenes get left on the editing floor. They have to because you can't get it all in this film shape package, and we have to lose great scenes all the time. And what he has done is now repurposed the film into something else. It becomes this a limited series, 3 parts, 4 parts, and being able to reinstate, this footage. And you can watch it if it's broken up. You can spend more time with the characters that way. I think it's a really exciting prospect that a film could exist in both incarnations.
No, you get it in 2 different mediums, and the experience completely changes.
Yes, yeah.
At one point, you and David Fincher were going to do World War Z too, and I'm so curious. What does a David Fincher zombie movie even look like?
Oh, it was good. It was really good.
Can you like how
very good. It was cool.
Any more details? Like how is going to compare to the first film?
We had a really good story, which he shepherded. Really strong story, and no, the things he had planned for just hadn't been seen before. No, I'm sure he'll get it out on something else.
You know, we're approaching the 20th anniversary of Fight Club, and I was sort of curious if you had any sort of thoughts looking back at that film and sort of its impact.
I mean, I'm it's always been my goal to shoot for films that have legs, that have a chance of being around 10 years, 20 years later, still have something relevant to say. And so for a couple of those to do that is, I don't know, when I found films, they were well after their release, and I still love them and I still watch them. And if cinema is to last, I hope it lasts in that way.
Well, the industry has changed so much, and you've been a major presence in Hollywood for a quarter of a century now. And what do you see as sort of the biggest, I don't want to say threats, challenges to sort of the industry right now and to making movies?
Well, it's pretty complicated. It's just going to be on us, and do we still want to have that communal experience on a big screen? That's going to be it. But films became so expensive and such a gamble. Mainly because of print and advertising, this additional cost on the film, that you were either only able to bet on big, tentpole films, or keep any interesting drama really small. And there was just been this huge gap. Now with streaming services, they don't have to deal with print and advertising and to that degree, and we're just seeing so much great material. We're seeing people taking chances again, being really bold, new talent emerging. That's really exciting. The question is are we going to go all that way, or do we want to hold on to our communal experience? And what kind of films are going to fit into that communal experience? And it seems like they have to be events in some way, and if they're not, that they're going to get lost in the shuffle. I don't know. I'm very curious to see.
All right, we're rolling into our Ad Astra review right now, and I have the pleasure of welcoming Drew Taylor and Eric Eisenberg for this conversation. Before we even jump in, Eric, you are a familiar face on Movie Talk.
Yeah.
Drew.
First time, baby.
It's about time. How long have we known each other?
For
so many years. So many years.
From back in New York, and
seriously.
now we're here.
I'm so happy to have you on the show
I'm so happy
today.
to be here.
I'm also excited to hear what you guys think about Ad Astra, because I suspect you guys are big fans. So briefly, Eric, you want to kick us off here?
I'll just say the wince that you just expressed is just so intense. I was just like, wow, just like trying to put me off my game. But no, I actually really, really love this film. I think the visuals are absolutely spectacular. It really, at its core, story-wise, takes its plot very much, follows the beats of Hearts of Darkness very much. So it has a kind of sci-fi Apocalypse Now type vibe, but just as it kind of goes from set piece to set piece, it just keeps building and building, and I just absolutely love the character development. The visuals are spectacular. I really thought this was an impressive
So
film.
I have to give a little context for my experience watching Ad Astra, because I woke up at something like 4 a.m. Eastern, so 1 a.m. this time, flew back from TIFF, and then insisted on going to a screening of Ad Astra at 7 o'clock at night. So I was wrecked. I had, TIFF had boggled my brain for so many days. So I found it a tiny bit too slow for me in the third act of the movie, but I do have to echo what you said about the visuals. I think one of the most striking things to me about this movie from that perspective was how rich the blacks in the movie were. And when you have a movie that takes place so much in space, there's something about that, I mean, it almost sucks the air out of the room. It makes you feel trapped in the vastness of space. I thought that was very effective. And Brad Pitt is freaking phenomenal. I mean, between this and also Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, two completely different.
I was going to say, these characters couldn't be more different.
If you need a reminder that he's a movie star, go see Ad Astra.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's one of those movies, I feel like every sci-fi movie's oh, space is horrible. It's a horrible place. And then you don't really get that. But in Ad Astra, you are reminded every 5 minutes of how terrible space is and how bad it can be in this kind of hypothesized future, which I won't get into details of, but is very sort of different than our space program now.
I think it captures that in the space respect, and also just what family legacy can do and the ripple effect that has. So what did you guys think of Tommy Lee Jones's part in the movie briefly?
I mean, it's a very small part, but I mean, it is well performed. He is kind of the Colonel Kurtz-esque character who's just lost out in the distance and has seemingly gone mad and needs to be stopped at all costs. And it's kind of dramatic that you send the son in to get this mission done. But I think it is, I mean, it's like I said, it's a small part, but I think it is executed very, very well. And I never necessarily would have thought of Tommy Lee Jones being cast as Brad Pitt's father, but...
Even
There we
after
are.
Space Cowboys, he's a great, he's got a
He's got that astronaut legacy, sure, yeah.
How can I forget about Space
Who
Cowboys?
could forget about Space Cowboys?
So what are you guys thinking now after having seen Ad Astra? Because Brad Pitt already has some Oscar buzz for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Do you think that this could break through into the awards race as well?
Absolutely. I mean, what's interesting about specifically Once Upon a Time in Hollywood versus Ad Astra is be leading versus supporting. And so, maybe he could wind up with attention in both categories. I could definitely see him. I mean, this, thus far, especially after the festivals that we're getting into, we have seen a lot of amazing performances start rolling out in 2019. So by the end of this year, I think it is going to be a very crowded field. But I definitely keep him in the conversation, yeah.
The interesting thing after TIFF that surprised me is that there's no clear front runner.
Sure.
I know that A Star is Born did fizzle out eventually last year and it didn't win as much as we once thought. But leaving TIFF, I feel like most people that I was there with were like it's all about A Star is Born. And now I'm thinking about everything that really got, a whole lot of positive buzz out of TIFF this year. And it just seems like there's a very even playing field. So there is an opportunity for Brad Pitt to break through with something like this.
Yeah, I just wonder what the sort of commercial prospects are going to be, because I don't know if people are excited about this, if they know what it is, if the title is very ambiguous. There hasn't been a whole lot of marketing. I hope people see it. It's going to be in IMAX this weekend, which I'm very excited to go back and see.
Full dive, sure.
Yeah, but I wonder what I don't know what I mean. You're sort of mixed on it. I wonder how sort of audiences are going to perceive this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very eager to go back and see it again, well rested and just with a fresh mind, and also because I saw 23 movies in a week at TIFF.
Right.
I need to actually come at this one, just fully ready to soak in Ad Astra, because this isn't a sit back and relax kind of movie, and I don't want to kind of belittle Downton Abbey, but I saw that movie and I loved it. And I think that is just that's the definition of a cheery crowd pleaser, where this isn't. This is a very thinky movie, and you need to be alert and ready for that to fully appreciate it. So this is one of those scenarios where, when I go and I check Cinema Score at the end of the weekend, this one might not have the highest for that reason.
I will say, to play devil's advocate on the box office side, and this is probably an unfair comparison, but Interstellar was a big hit, and
It's true.
James Gray is not Christopher Nolan. That's just, that is base fact. He's a great filmmaker, but as far as just his legacy and how audiences respond to him, it's obviously not the same. So, but at the same time, I could definitely see people just trying to taking this out based really on the star power of Brad Pitt. I mean, I think he brings a lot to the screen. I think that the conversation around it has been really compelling. And just honestly, for also just what you were saying about seeing it a second time, I think it is a movie that absolutely deserves to be, and you're saying it too, is just because as the story unfolds, it is kind of going from set piece to set piece, and each one offers a different kind of piece to the puzzle, and just understanding that structure, going back into it, I feel like you can get a much deeper read out of everything, and I just think it's there.
But everyone should go back and rewatch all of James Gray's movies
yes,
too.
Also that too.
This will be the flashpoint where now James Gray is a big, important director that he always should have been, but he's an amazing American auteur and should be, thought of as such.
All right, so in a weekend where we have Ad Astra, Downton Abbey, and also Rambo: Last Blood, what are you recommending people see?
Rambo?
I haven't.
I have not seen Rambo.
I know John Roca has, but he hasn't shared his thoughts with me
I've
yet.
seen the reactions online last night, and they are not positive. So, in fact, they are miserable. So, I mean, I can't. I have no subjective opinion on this, but the crowd, nobody seems to among the professionals that seem to like it. So, I mean, but at the same time, I love this movie, so I'm just gonna say this movie, Ad Astra. Yes, go see Ad Astra.
Yeah, go see it. Yeah, go see Ad Astra and the biggest screen possible.
Definitely.
And if you want me to review it in a British accent, that'll be that's the Downton Abbey, feeling that you want
I will say what's exciting to me about this weekend at the box office between the three movies, and I also have not seen Rambo, so I can't comment on the quality of that movie, is it is kind of cool how there's something for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even when you loop in a horror movie in It Chapter 2 and also Hustlers, which I think might appeal to maybe a younger crowd than Downton Abbey.
Maybe everyone. I think everyone.
Well,
Check out Hustlers.
everyone should see it, but there really is something out there for everyone right now. So I really think we're going to wind up with a fairly big weekend in the box office, even if one of these three movies doesn't wind up being a runaway hit. I feel like we're going to wind up with a top 5 where every single one of them makes north of $15 million.
I was gonna say, I think I read a report that said Ad Astra, Downton, and It are all looking at like $20 million weekends. So
That'd be
would be
nice
huge.
to have something to go see at the movies. Again. There's nothing like opening up your AMC app and going, we'll stay home.
Oh,
You
not
know.
this time of
Not
year.
this
We're
time.
rolling
No.
into award
Thank
season.
God.
Halloween's right around the corner. Good stuff
Thank
ahead of
God.
us. Good stuff ahead of us on Movie Talk today, too, because right now we're going to talk a little bit about a potential Star Wars holiday special. So, as we told you earlier, Ash Crossing caught up with Jon Favreau, and the holiday special came up. And it's not like he said, like, I am working on a holiday special. It was something they were tossing around for fun, so we thought we would do the same here. First off, given his comments, do you actually think that he would ever commit to making a Star Wars holiday special for Disney Plus? Or is this kind of just like a lofty dream that was thrown out there for fun?
Well, I mean, we have to think about how much of The Mandalorian comes from the holiday special, because his gun is the same gun that Boba Fett had in the animated section of that special. The first Ewok movie was supposed to be a holiday special as well, and was viewed by 34 million people when it premiered on television. So there is some precedent here, but I don't know if they would go full on holiday special.
I think the door is kind of open, especially now that we have Disney Plus. Like, I think that creates a lot of new avenues that they could potentially explore. That being said, the legacy. This is definitely a thing with a legacy. Star Wars, the Star Wars holiday special, is a terrible piece of crap. Like, it is truly terrible. Like the animated sequence is neat. And it is interesting that that's kind of what Jon Favreau focuses on in these quotes, because everything else about it is just awful, unwatchable crap. And it's why George Lucas has done everything in his power to try and basically erase it from existence. But of course, fans will always have the kind of bootleg DVDs that show up at conventions and stuff like that. So its
Have you
legacy
seen
will
it?
live on. But
Yes,
Okay.
I have seen it. And I'm wondering now, let's say there is a holiday special in the future. Do you think there's a scenario where they could play into that aspect of it for the better, or
Just kinda
do
like
they
buy it
kind
back?
of take it seriously? I mean, I'm just bringing this up because
Like the
Downton Abbey
crumminess of
is
it?
well, Downton Abbey, and even I'm thinking about recently Sabrina had a Christmas special. Like they take it very seriously, whereas here there's the opportunity to play into nostalgia and have a different kind of fun
Yeah.
with it. Which avenue do you go with this?
I mean, it's interesting that kind of like tone does not necessarily fully exist in the Star Wars universe,
Yeah.
where you're kind of like purposefully like taking the piss out of it. I mean, if we are going into a bold new era of Star Wars projects, maybe that could be something that'd be interesting to go on. I mean, I certainly don't want to see that applied to like an Obi-Wan series. So like, if you're gonna do that, yeah, the holiday special would be the
But
way
like
to
in
go.
The Mandalorian, like
Oh, but not like, yeah, exactly.
You
like
look so
Werner
alarmed.
Herzog going like, "Hello and welcome, have a good life day," something like that. I don't know if that would
Yeah.
totally work, especially because it's very dark and spooky. Was he saying that he wanted to do it like separately from Mandalorian, or
Yeah, I think it was. He said like basically do
Just
it as
like
its own
a
kind of
crazy-
thing.
okay.
Yeah. I don't think he really specified. Again, I don't think this was any kind of, firm commitment to his intentions to actually make it, but it's
Right.
an interesting idea to throw around. I'm putting you guys on the spot here. If you did have to pick a director who could maybe make the most of this, and in either route that I just said, we can either go the spoof route or we could take it fully seriously and fit in the tone that they have established with the Star Wars film franchise and now might explore in Disney Plus. Who would you pick
I do
and
have an answer
why?
for this now. Actually, it's Taika Waititi. He's now he's in Star Wars now. He directed episodes of The Mandalorian, and he has that tone.
I was
He's
gonna say-
actually
yeah.
he's one of few that I think could tap into
Yeah.
into both of what I was just describing there
Right.
too.
I was gonna say
as
bring-
you were describing it, I was like, oh, that's the guy.
That makes so much
or we could bring
sense.
back Lord and Miller. Too soon? Too soon?
Yeah, I don't think that'll ever happen.
Really,
so.
I don't think it's ever too soon to bring Lord and Miller back to anything.
Oh, I'm game for it.
I
Yes,
don't actually
absolutely.
think it's going to happen,
right.
but I think
that
they're an
bridge has
excellent
been
pair.
burned.
I think, I think it wouldn't be so much about Star Wars reaching out to Lord and Miller so much as Lord and Miller having absolutely zero interest to do with Star Wars. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that level down. Dude, that's really depressing.
But they would be great, right?
They would, of course. Yeah, no, there's
all I'm
exact
saying.
perfect
Really,
sensibility.
if they announced their return to Star Wars in any respect, I'd be all for it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I have a little scoop for you, too.
I wanna
involving-
hear it.
Okay. So they have talked about bringing Life Day to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But unsurprisingly, Lucasfilm has not been too excited about that.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think that would be a fun sort of Christmas time overlay. Get people back,
What? Like, I know,
Maybe in a
I
few
know
years.
the answer. I know the answer to this. I was about to say, like, what? Why not?
Yeah.
Like people do think of it fairly fondly, and also you were talking earlier about the overlay idea and how successful that is at the parks. And I, for one, I've never been to Disneyland during Halloween time, and like I'm dying to go. I usually feel lots of urgencies to go to Disneyland or Disney World because I love theme parks and I love Disney in particular.
Right.
But for Halloween, like, how have I not gone? It's just increasing my desire to go to the park tenfold, and I feel like that effect could happen if Life Day was part of Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, what are the decorations for
I've
Life
got
Day?
absolutely no clue.
It's like,
Not a clue in
That's
the
the other
world.
thing. It's like, how do you kind of
You
like
call out the worst Wookiee costumes you could
right?
possibly do.
Worst Wookiee costume.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, there is a
VR.
charm in playing into this.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it is ultimately a question of whether or not Star Wars is willing to take itself a little bit less seriously, because as it is, this is one of the biggest, most beloved franchises in history, and as soon as you kind of maybe cross a line where you maybe don't take it as seriously as a lot of fans clearly do, because there are a lot of intense Star Wars fans out there, that it may ultimately get rejected. And so if you lean into it too far, that may be a problem. I mean, I would hope it wouldn't be.
You remember those shirts they used to have of like Darth Vader riding, the rocket jets and Tomorrowland and stuff, and
Sure.
all that stuff is gone now.
Yeah.
They've sort of taken it to a more serious place. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I think
even
that
the
could loosen
animated
up.
material isn't silly.
Yeah.
You have the occasional silly, kind of funny droid, but it's not silly. It's definitely not holiday special silly.
No.
So
I feel like it's somehow silly with being appropriate to the overall tone that they've established, where everything can.
You think that a Christmas special could be that?
No. Oh
okay.
my God, no.
Okay.
When I say go, spoof movie I mean just fully play into
fully
it
commit
and
to it,
celebrate
yeah.
it. Make sure people don't go into it with the expectation that certain things are canon. Just, let loose and have fun.
Sure.
Have fun without all that added pressure.
Maybe after 9 they'll kind of loosen up and things will have a little bit more breathing room. I don't know. Who knows?
how miserable would a serious holiday special be, though?
Well,
They
if
just,
Werner
like, they
Herzog is
tried-
involved, I'm into it.
All right, we're going to toss this to you guys right now. What do you think? Should they do a holiday special on Disney Plus? Should it be serious or super silly? Hit the comment section below and share your thoughts right there. Before we move on to our final discussion today, which is going to be about those 100 essential movies to watch, we've got some stuff to tease on Collider Video. Here are a couple promos.
Well, hello there. I'm Ken Knapsack, one of the hosts of Collider Jedi Council, and I'd like to invite you to listen to our show, watch our show. It's on every Thursdays on the Collider Video channel, and it's also available in podcast form if you'd like to listen to our sweet voices on Collider Jedi Council, me, Christian Harloff, and a bevy of guests, I say, talk Star Wars. We celebrate Star Wars. We dig into the Star Wars news. We speculate everything about Star Wars, including your questions. So join us on Collider Jedi Council. You're going to have a great time.
Hey guys, it's Riley here. Let me tell you about the Riley Roundtable. You know it, right? It drops every Thursday on Collider Conversations, and I have guests from all across the space. John Roca, Gray Drake, Alexander Desplat came on at one point. We talk everything from movies, we talk about life, and everything in between. What do you want to hear? What do you want to talk about? It's the Riley Roundtable every Thursday on Collider Conversations. You get it there.
All right, time for the big discussion. I love these lists, and I really do need to applaud the Collider.com staff, because we were talking earlier, you can't put up a list that's the 100 essential movies any film fan should watch, and, not run into someone out there who says that list is crap. I think it should be this, this, and this. They worked so hard on this. They all kind of had to put their heads together and come up with a list as a team. And I really do think that this list is something else. But we also do want to throw in some of our own picks that might be missing from this. So first, before we even get there, what is an essential movie to you? Because that's the other thing. This was a team effort. Everybody else considers a movie a must-see for a variety of reasons. So in your mind, what makes a movie essential for a movie fan?
Yeah, I don't because the way it was described to me is this is for like new movie fans.
Yes.
Like people who maybe haven't seen a lot of these things. So yeah, it's interesting to put that criteria on something that someone else should watch. I don't know. What do you?
Well, for me, I think really what essential filmmaking is film. Because film, in my opinion, is a storytelling medium. It's the ability to tell a story, and we've now experienced a century of this medium. And so what is really essential is the kind of advancement of that storytelling. It's the people who take what currently exists, look at it differently, twist it, and then apply those twists to create something new that kind of opens things up in a new way. And frankly, a lot of these films absolutely do that. I mean, right now I'm looking at my computer, and the first one that pops out to me is Pulp Fiction, which of course is the ultimate postmodern crime story that completely deconstructs everything from the 90 years plus that had preceded it. So it's films like that I do think ultimately are what you would call essential.
Ooh, I
Very
love that
well
answer.
said, yeah. Admittedly, when I was thinking about my own movies to add to this list, I got very torn between exactly what you expressed, because it does, if this is a list meant to, I guess, teach in some respect, it does feel really important that all of these movies represent something that something before them hadn't done, something that has shaped the industry that we're steeped in right now. But then I think about the movies that are essential to me as a movie lover, that shaped the movie lover I have become. And, I was this close to saying Billy Madison should be on the list, but I didn't do it. I held back a little, but growing up, admittedly, growing up, that movie was a very big deal to me, and that kind of shaped, in a sense, my comedic sensibilities too. I love early Adam Sandler so much, and just thinking about the comedies where I'm repeating so many lines over and over, there is a tinge of Billy Madison that I find in a lot of it.
Deeply influential. And for you personally, just knowing you, Scream is also.
Exactly.
But it's on the list.
It's on the list also. Yes, and
guess what? The first two things when I pulled up this list that I did the find
Immediately
and search
right.
for: Scream and Jurassic Park.
Nah,
Thank God
it's not
they're on the
right.
list. For you guys, what were the most pleasant surprises that you caught scrolling through that list?
Ooh.
Was there anything that
I was very happy Die Hard was on there.
Yes.
Die Hard, yes, that's absolutely one.
Obviously a formal masterpiece, but also a very heartfelt one. And we are still describing action movies as Die Hard Anna. So I think that, we are still we're still in the wake of that. So that was I was really happy about that.
For me, honestly, this is maybe kind of a cop-out answer, but the way that whenever somebody asks me what my favorite movie is, I struggle, just because every single movie I've ever seen just suddenly comes flying into my head. So the way I kind of break it down is by directors. It's the filmmakers that truly, I think, made an impact on this industry. And really, this list has everybody. It's Tarantino, it's Raimi, it's Wilder, it's Kurosawa, it's Hitchcock. It's you really.
There's some notable exclusions.
Yes, there is.
Sure, yes.
Okay, I'm not going to mention this one later because I have a feeling I know where I'm actually curious if we go in the same direction.
Well, I was surprised there was no De Palma.
Sure.
Someone who speaks the language of cinema better than, I would argue most major directors.
That's funny.
And also no Bong Joon-ho. No Korean cinema at all, which I was very
Okay, so what would you add to the list in that category?
I would put Memories of Murder on there. I would put something like The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, which seems like a very interesting Korean twist on a very American genre. Kim Ji-woon is an amazing filmmaker that I think everybody should check out. But yeah, I thought that was sort of an interesting. I was impressed with how much international cinema was on this list, but obviously there are going to be some blind spots.
I was thinking Old Boy too.
Yeah,
that's one that it's on a lot of the best movies of all time list for good reason.
Yeah,
and that,
or even
that
The
was
Handmaiden.
the one. Yeah. Oh my God,
sure.
The Handmaiden's
one of the
phenomenal.
most amazing movies of the last few years. Yeah,
that's a good call. All right, I can't hold back. So were we talking Hitchcock? That was the one.
You have Hitchcock, right?
Did you have a Hitchcock movie that you were surprised wasn't on this list?
No. Was Vertigo on the list?
Yes,
Vertigo's
Vertigo's
there.
on the list.
Psycho is not.
I know. Psycho's the one that's not. They have Vertigo and they have Rear Window, which made me really happy because Rear Window is one of my favorite of all of Hitchcock's movies. Psycho's missing.
And actually, on kind of taking the next slash level, Halloween is also not on this list.
Well, Halloween, and then the other one that I feel like Halloween is more essential than Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre is still, of all of the first of the iconic slasher franchises, that's one of the ones that holds up the best.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Every single time I've watched that movie more times than I can count, and it's still, it creeps me out.
And
it
it's
makes
funny.
It creeps me out. It makes me feel like scared and vulnerable, and it's just as vicious after so many watches as it was the very first time I saw it. So I might add that one as well.
Yeah.
That is a great one.
Yeah.
Godzilla, I noticed, was not on the list.
I'm
for some
surprised
kaiju
Haley stood for
representation.
that.
I'm sure there was a lot of discussion.
There was definitely a conversation about Godzilla.
And also, I mean, this is also partially biased, but I would throw Big Lebowski on there, if not just because it is my favorite comedy of all time. I can watch that movie endlessly and laugh every single time. But it's also, just to go back to what I was saying earlier, an incredible deconstruction of genre. It's like the fact that you are marrying comedy with deep film noir is unbelievably gorgeous and so clever and creative. And I mean, I loved seeing also like Fargo is on this list. So Coen Brothers do get some representation, which I'm happy about.
Only 4 animated movies out of 100, which
I was
I was
that.
super psyched about that.
Do you know what those animated movies were?
Yes,
off the top
they
of your
were.
head?
Yeah, they were Snow White,
Fantasia.
Fantasia, Spirited Away, and Toy Story.
Yeah, I had a feeling Toy Story would be the one. Are you at a point where you can clearly isolate your favorite Pixar movie? Because I very recently had a switch.
No, I mean, I think Brad Bird is another filmmaker that should have been represented on this, and I think putting Iron Giant on there would have been great because. What's represented?
Iron Giant.
Yeah, but what's represented on the list are like kind of the big titans of Japanese and Western animation. So. Putting a movie that was a little bit outside of that, just as a kind of entry point for people who aren't into like the mainstream stuff, would kind of be nice. But yeah, I mean, Ratatouille is great. I think Incredibles might still be my favorite.
I think right now I am firmly in the camp of having Inside Out as my favorite Pixar movie of all
amazing.
time. It
I
just
love Inside
topped
Out.
WALL-E, but when I'm thinking of essentials with this list, you kind of have to, if you're only going to pick one, you have to go with Toy Story because it started one of the most incredible animation studios of all time.
Yeah, and what we were talking about technologically, that is such a leap forward. Yeah.
You know what I would have liked to see on this list, actually? A Leica movie, a stop motion movie. That's a huge, I mean, actually, wait.
Is Nightmare Before Christmas on there?
That's exactly what I was looking for. It's not on the, all right, that is the one that just went to the top of my must be on this movie list, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, I will also just throw into the mix, just because the indie movement of the early 90s, I mean, we do have Pulp Fiction is represented, but like Richard Linklater is not on this list. Movies like
Boyhood
Slacker. Boyhood isn't on there. Slacker, Dazed and Confused.
Okay.
So I would put those on that
I would
list.
put, Boyhood, I mean, still nothing.
Boyhood
like
is,
it.
I mean, that's spectacular. And knowing that he's also now going into that venture kind of again, which is by its own,
Yeah.
Just
special.
curious. So, Eric, you said you don't have like a clear sense of what your favorite movie of all time is.
Yeah, that's impossible.
Do you, Drew? And what typically dictates what gets on that list? Because it's deeply personal for everybody.
Right. I mean, I think that now, after doing almost 70 episodes of a Mission Impossible podcast where I've broken down every single aspect of Mission Impossible and talked to everyone, it might be Mission Impossible or Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Oh,
I mean, in terms of something that I can watch over and over again and find new things, and yeah, I would have loved to have seen the Mission Impossible franchise, make a appearance here, but yeah.
That's kind of revolutionary.
Actually, I think that could suit this list.
Yeah.
Actually, here's another one. I want to make sure it's not on this list before I say Mad Max Fury Road. I think just because of the accomplishment in particular of just the stunts and all the in-camera stuff that was done on that movie, that's really on another level.
It's kind of a movie that it says like, this is what can be done. Because that is a movie that seems impossible, but then when you look at like the behind the scenes footage of Mad Max, like those
wild.
people are insane.
Yeah.
It's really, really
I
wild.
still still can't believe a lot of the stuff that they do in that film. And so, yeah, I think, and I guess George Miller in general is not represented here.
I don't think so.
So,
At a glance,
And that's
not
another
that I
one
could
that
tell.
has seamless computer, tons of computer
Oh,
effects.
yes.
For real.
And another one that was kind of surprising was Zodiac isn't on the
Yeah.
list.
Oh, I do quite like Zodiac.
You know.
It's a tough list. This
It
is
is
a
a tough
really,
list.
really hard list to
Honestly,
make.
I
You
think
can
it's
go
a
on
really
and
good
on.
list. I actually think that, compared to some other things, did you guys see the Guardians, the 100
did not.
list of the new millennium?
Did not see that one.
That's a really interesting list.
Okay,
too.
I gotta
Yeah,
go
check
through
it
that.
out. But-
Couple other pleasant surprises here. I was very happy to see Evil Dead on the list.
Very much
Yeah.
I
so,
think
yes.
that's a great one to have in the mix. Clueless got a little love.
Was
and I
John
think-
Hughes on the list at all?
Oh no.
Because I would put Breakfast Club up there.
Breakfast Club is
Oh,
not.
no.
I didn't
Yeah.
see Pretty
Now
in
I just
Pink.
feel a little bad about shouting out Clueless. I love Clueless. Clueless
Yeah.
was another 90s essential to me, and it's part of, like the formation of my movie-loving brain. But I would probably put a John Hughes movie
Yeah.
above Clueless. Also, Tangerine. I was pleasantly surprised to
Yes.
see
I've
Tangerine
not seen
on the
Tangerine.
list.
Tangerine is probably one of the few
Tangerine
movies
is
on this list that I
great.
have not seen, so.
If you're a fan of James Ransone, we had a lengthy interview with him for The Witching Hour for It Chapter 2 recently, so go watch that. But also, he's in Tangerine, and I just can't recommend that movie enough.
It's an amazing movie.
It really is.
It's so fun.
Anything else that you guys want to throw in before we move on? I feel like we could go.
I was about to say,
in
this
circles
is
on
an
this
endless
conversation.
conversation. Yeah.
I'm like so afraid to cut this segment off and move into live chat questions because I'm afraid that I'm going to get upset when I think of something that I didn't say right now.
Yeah, but there's so much to talk. We haven't talked about the silent era. We haven't talked about Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing. We haven't talked about the Kung Fu, Enter the Dragon. This is such a insanely huge topic. I don't think it could ever be covered within any kind of limited time frame.
Maybe they'll do 100 more movies in a
There
few
you go.
months. We'll have to come back and
But
talk
you,
about it.
Exactly,
you
yeah.
always could. It's
Yeah, yeah.
I understand the mentality of here's something to narrow your focus and encourage you maybe a little more to jump
Mm-hmm.
in, but there's so many things out there. I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to leave that actually to you as well. Hit the comment section below. Share the movies that you think should be on this list as well, because the more movies we hear about that suit this list, the better for all of us. We'll all get more to watch out of it.
Right.
All right. Let's move into some live chat questions. We got a whole bunch here. Oh, I'm just going to give you a very difficult one first.
Great.
From Lions Cub, who asks, if you could only see one more movie this year, which one would it be? It can be one that is released or yet to be released.
I know this.
Oh,
answer.
wow. I
I-
feel like that little parentheses thing just made it even more difficult.
Yeah.
I feel like the obvious answer is Star Wars, but I think I'm gonna say Dr. Sleep. I love Mike Flanagan. I love the book. I think that is kind of the big highlight for the rest of the year for me.
Yeah. I was going to say Star Wars or Frozen 2.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited about Frozen 2. And I think it's going to be really special. Were you at the long lead day?
I was, yes.
Yeah. I was very impressed
That
with
was
what we saw.
impressive.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
I'm extremely conflicted right now.
Oh.
So Star Wars obviously comes to mind, Frozen 2 comes to mind, and so does Dr. Sleep. But then I started to think about, what movie did I love this year that I'd be very upset if I couldn't watch again?
Yeah. And?
But now I'm getting
Well, now-
into
yeah, now you have to tell us
I'm
what that
getting
is.
into the nitty gritty of his question, and it's well, can I just not watch it again this calendar year, and could I come back to it next? If I couldn't watch a movie that I loved this year ever again, it would be Avengers Endgame as my choice. I would never want to carry on without ever having that experience again.
Right.
Sure.
So I'd want to make
As
sure
someone
to
who's
get
watched
that
it
in
roughly
there.
800 times
Yeah, right,
since it's come
exactly,
out on
yeah.
DVD, yeah.
The other day, not the other day, the other week when I was flying with Haley to North Bend, Washington for a film festival, and she was watching Avengers Endgame on the little plane screen, and I was just creeping over her shoulder, even without sound. It's the second that third act battle kicks in, there's no way you could pull your eyes away from it, and it's just as good on a teeny tiny screen
Yeah.
without any sound. It's incredible. I can't
wonderful.
handle it. All right. Here is another question we've got from J. Scott for real. This is a fun one. Which fictional film sport would you most like to play? Pod racing for those high octane adrenaline junkies. Does a fictional sport come to mind?
What's the sport from Starship Troopers? That's kind of fun.
Oh my
Like
God.
Powerball or whatever that is. Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe I can't remember what the official name
Yeah.
was.
I'm
that
not even
bothers
that big of a
me.
Harry Potter guy, but Quidditch always seemed
Quidditch
like a
would
hell of
be
a lot of
one.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to play basketball.
Basketball. You can play basketball, Perri. It's actually very easy.
Well, like, it probably,
Professional. Yeah, it'd be cool if there was like a professional basketball
I
league.
immediately went to that because it's like I can play baseball and I can play basketball. I'd probably be pretty good.
I had no idea you were so indebted to 90s studio comedies.
I'm a child of the 90s. I grew up watching this stuff over and over and over again. Actually, this isn't really a sport, but I would like to do just about every single activity they do in heavyweights also. Like, I want to freaking jump on the blob. I want to go go-kart racing. I want to do all of that. I'm trying to think of what else there is. I can only think of real sports right now.
Yeah, right.
Like real sports being played by teams that I want to be a part of, like Sandlot, Mighty Ducks, stuff like that.
I also feel like most fake sports and movies are also tremendously violent, and like there's a really good chance that you'll just die really, really fast.
Yeah.
So
Rollerball.
Rollerball for a good example.
Death race.
I mean, like,
Death Race.
does the Hunger Games count? Because I don't want to take part in that. Usually sports and like fictional sports are usually not the most pleasant things. Like,
Oh, God, I'm sorry to do this to you guys right now, and I'm really sorry to do this to everybody out there, but we're going to keep the bread theme rolling this week, and I promise I'll pull back next week. Planeta Sophia is asking, I need to know this. What type of bread would you... What type of bread represents you? I think that's what she's getting at here.
Drew is completely clueless as to what's going on right now. I just want to
but I know the answer.
Bread is very, very important to Collider Movie Talk for reasons that I can't fully explain.
Why isn't there a bread basket out here, you know?
Don't put ideas in Dorian's head. Right. So what bread best represents you?
I think, I'm going to say Texas toast. I grew up in Texas. I mean, there's nothing better than a big, thick slab of Texas toast. Yeah, I love bread. as is evident by my physique, I love bread. So,
as a New Jersey Jew, I guess I should say rye. I guess, that's what I'm just gonna stick with.
Yesterday, I purposely chose an everything bagel, just like because I'm a New Yorker.
There you go.
I love
Perfect.
bagels, and I had to go with that. All right. Let's get one from MK Songbird, who's going back to the 100 most essential movies list, and they're asking, what is the most recent film that you would put on the list? So is there anything from, let's say, like this year or last that you think is going to wind up on that list eventually?
Oh, I couldn't say.
I actually would wholeheartedly say Avengers Endgame, because especially with the way that you described what should be on the list, I mean, there's nothing like it. There's no event-level movie like that. We might not ever get one in our lifetimes ever again.
It's true.
Yeah, I like that Get Out was on there, but I'm an even bigger fan of Us, so I might even put Us on there. Yeah, as something that really push things forward.
I think Endgame is the answer. I think you absolutely nailed it. It's like, that's just the movie, because we aren't like... Even the idea that Marvel could ever do something like what they've built after, like, over the last 10 years, again, it just won't have the same effect simply because they've already done it once. Like, I can't even imagine how big you would have to go to create that kind of feeling again. In fact, I'm not sure there is big enough.
I was just trying to think of some other franchises that could have been on that list that aren't. Do you think a Harry Potter movie should have been on that list?
No.
Can't say I'm the hugest fan of that franchise.
I mean, not that this is essential either, but still running with that same theme, like Twilight and how that changed the game and the craze that started. But I don't know. I feel like the overall quality of that movie doesn't really warrant.
I will say within my and this, I didn't write this list, but the fact that Empire is here over Star Wars is an interesting choice.
It is. It is.
I love Last Jedi too.
Last Jedi's great.
Comments go wild.
Blow up.
Don't tempt them. All right, let's get one more question in. And this is a great question for you too, I think. The next big rap star 92 wants to know, what's the film that blew your mind as a kid that opened your eyes to what filmmaking could be?
Whoa.
That is a big, big question. I think I'll give you guys a little bit of time because everybody out there does know my answer, and it's Jurassic Park. I mean, the first time I saw it, I was in such awe of... a kind of out of this world concept coming to life before my eyes and feeling so real. And then as I got older, the more and more I watched it, the more I appreciate the artistry in it and just the capabilities that are in a very talented filmmaker's hands to bring something that is not your reality.
Did you even see that in theaters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I saw it in theaters with
How old were you?
I was an itty bitty child. I shouldn't have been seeing that movie. My sister was there, and she's 2 years younger than me.
Wow.
And when the T-Rex broke out of its paddock, like little Ani just like up out the door.
Nice.
My dad went after her, and she watched. At the time, they still had the little windows in the theater
Right.
doors, so we kept turning around, and she watched the rest of the movie with him like lifting her into the window in the door.
Yeah, I remember campaigning for my mom to let me go see Jurassic Park. Like, listen, it's PG-13. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Dinosaurs aren't going to be too outrageous. Yeah, but
You grew up in Texas.
yes, I did. But I was still a swindling New Yorker.
Sure.
Yeah.
So is that your pick as well?
I would say maybe Lion King, the Lion in
Yeah.
'94. Yeah, that kind of opened up what animation could be and was kind of the linchpin of the whole, second renaissance. And, yeah.
This is very weirdly personal, but like my entire journey into film actually, in a weird way, ties back to an English assignment that I had in 7th grade, where we had a segment on film reviews, just as a form of persuasive writing. And as part of that, I watched Casablanca for the first time, and that was the first time I ever analyzed a film. That was the first time I ever did a deep dive into what filmmaking really was, and now I'm here.
How old are you?
I love that
7th grade.
story.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's so beautiful.
I love thinking about little neurotic Eric. Listen,
I think you could describe all three of
Yes,
us that
yes,
way.
yes,
It's
yes.
now and when we were children.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think there's any better way to end the show, so we do have to say goodbye. Before we leave you two, though, where can everybody out there find your work on the internet?
Well, I just got laid off, so from MoviePhone, a casualty of the Movie Pass destruction. So I am now freelance. Anyone wants to hire me, please do. But listen to Light the Fuse every week, my Mission Impossible podcast, and Fine Tuning, my other animation podcast, every week. And I'll be out there.
Social
Find me on
media.
Twitter. Yeah, Drew Tailored, like the suit, on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah.
Cool. You can find me on Twitter at @Eisenberg, and I am the events editor at Cinema Blend, and you can find all of my work there.
Thank you guys again for being here today. We hope to see you again soon.
For sure.
Adam in the booth, thank you for all your hard work and the happiest birthday to you. I hope you have a wonderful time celebrating today. You're here. Happy birthday, Adam. All right, guys. Another thank you to Dorian in the live chat today and to all of you out there for watching our show. Don't forget to like and share it. And guess what? We got something cool coming your way on Collider Live very soon, so you're going to want to tune in 10 a.m. this morning. They have Jaden Martell, who you might know from a little movie franchise called It. He's also in a movie called Low Tide. He's going to be on the show along with writer-director Kevin McMullen. So check that out. Don't miss it. And then tune in tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, for a brand new episode of Movie Talk.